on, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live.
Right now.
Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul Sporting with the talk. First lady from New York,
Brooklyn.
All my people, you rocking with the chat.
Hit that.
The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't talk.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't talk.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't talk.
What?
Don't talk.
What?
Don't talk.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Knick family. Welcome to the Just Knickin' It show. I'm your host, Stephanie, a.k.a. Queen. And as always, we have a lot to talk about tonight. The Knicks went up 2-0 in the series against the Philadelphia 76ers with a thrilling win last night when I thought they were dead in the water. I was disappointed. We lost, I don't know, what was it, an 8-point lead? Oh, man. But we came back and scored, what was that, 8 points in less than 30 seconds. Just the no quit Knicks, you know. Like I said on the show this morning, heroes abound. We needed every point. Hart was great for us in that first half. McBride got some key baskets for us. Bogey with the 2 straight 3-pointers, you know, against the zone. You know, Hart was just phenomenal. And we talk about the offensive rebound on the last play and the chase down block. It wasn't a full court chase, but a half court chase down block. But what about going 7 for 8, you know, from the field? He was phenomenal. And then OG, we'll talk about him more. I would like to see a little bit more from OG, but after that block, his ability to secure the rebound and hit those 2 free throws was big for us. And Thibodeau, you know, the maestro, you know, in terms of, you know, what he's doing, putting Bogey in against the zone. I don't know if that was Bogey's time to come in. It might have been, but it seemed intentional. I like to think it was intentional that he put him in, you know, to bust the zone. We going down to Philly. The Knicks play Thursday in Philadelphia, 7:30 p.m. and then Sunday, 1 p.m. Oh man, I'm really looking forward to it. But we got a lot to talk about today. I mean, Embiid out there, you know, on one leg and a cane, and still averaging like 30-something points. You know, in this series. So, you know, should we just continue to allow him to do that and just shut down everybody else, or, you know, should we do a little bit more to try to make it at least, you know, move one step at least? Anyway, let me bring in the panel. We got Jerrell, we got Geoff. Salute to Ajay somewhere in the Caribbean, and salute to staff for listening. Miss you. Yeah. How you fellas doing? Shout out to the chat, by the way.
Yeah, salute to the chat. Glad to be here, Steph. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Man, salute. It's been great to be here, especially after 2 Knick wins. Salute to all y'all who predicted we'd be up 2-0. Let's keep up the good work. It's not finished.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna talk about game 1 and 2. With how game 2 finished. I'm like, what happened in game 1? I don't you know, in game 1. But just, you know, our last show was prior to any of these games. Who and what has stood out for you? Is this what you expected? Yeah. Just however you want to go as far as the first 2 games. Jerrell?
I mean, it's kind of what I expected, you know. We won 2 close games though. I always said you talked about earlier in your show earlier this afternoon about stopping, you know, Embiid. Hopefully, you know, you can have him put it on the floor a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't let him shoot. I kind of predicted that we would probably let him and Maxey go off and then try to contain everybody else. I said you can, have both of them score 30, but who's going to score the other 40 points?
Right.
And so far, that's how the series has been pretty much going. That doesn't mean it's going to keep going that way. I hope, Buddy Hield doesn't find his shot. I hope Kelly Oubre isn't really that effective. Tobias Harris seemed like he doesn't even want to play basketball anymore. So I just hope that, we can keep it going. This series is far from over. We won 2 close games. And we're going to, they're going to give us all we can handle in game 3. Game 3 is going to be very, very pivotal.
Yeah, I agree. Geoff?
I think what stood out to me was the physicality at the 5 spot. In game 1, what you saw was Hartenstein had a rough game, in my opinion, for him. His mid-range little floater wasn't falling. His defense seemed to step slow. But then Mitch came in, and Mitch was phenomenal. Did a really good job, especially in the second half, making things difficult on Joel. And then in game 2, it was completely the opposite. You saw, not that Mitch played poorly, but you saw the Isaiah Hartenstein fully realized, especially in that third quarter when Jalen was just kind of finding him with those little pocket passes, and he was just killing it from the mid-range, and then, that just kind of cemented him, got him going. And then in the fourth quarter, he makes the huge rebound, the huge block, and just, it just seems like with Philly in the first quarter, Embiid has just been fresh, ready to go. And when he's as close as he can be to 100%, we have no answer for him. But it doesn't seem like conditionally and physically he can sustain that for 4 quarters. I mean, I don't think he had a rebound in the second half of game 2.
Right.
Right. I think he was 0 for 2 from the floor down the stretch in the fourth quarter in that game. And so I think that Robinson and Robinson and Ihart are making it tough for him. I mean, if you look at his shooting percentages, I think he was 12 for 29 from the field in game 2. And I think you have to take that if you're the Knicks. I mean, yeah, he had 30 some odd points. He gets to the line more than he probably should, but you just have to live with that. And if you make it tough on him like that, I think you've done your job. And it's frustrating because you see him, getting to stand there and make jump shots. I didn't think about that when until you said so on your program this afternoon. But at the same time, if that's the only way that he can beat you, you're not going to get a ton of foul calls when all you're doing is shooting a jumper. And so, and I don't think Robinson or Hartenstein, knock on wood, has really been in foul trouble yet. So, from that standpoint, I think they've done a good job. They've answered the bell. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Josh Hart. I mean, this is a guy who, after 20 games in the season, we thought we had way overpaid for a guy who wasn't worth it. And then he came back to being what he was when we acquired him the year before at the deadline. Remember that second half of it wasn't really the second half, but that stint where he came to us last year, he shot about 50% from beyond the arc. And we all kind of knew that wasn't sustainable. Right. But he had that stretch where he was just really good from out there, and with everything else that he brings, I mean, he played 48 minutes. I mean, that, and we needed him every second. And not only did he play 48 minutes, he's the guy who's hustling to get the steal in the last minute, playing as hard as he did in minute 1. And you contrast that with Joel Embiid, who came out house of fire and is standing there watching the ball when Isaiah Hartenstein goes in there and just grabs that rebound that would have iced the game for them. So, those are the things that stood out to me the most, I think.
Yeah. Great point. Yeah. I mean, a lot has stood out for me. One, and we'll get into it a little later on in the show, maybe even next, is Brunson's play. And I know he hasn't been good against Philadelphia for the year, this year, but I still expected a bit more from him. And we may still get it. I get, how they're playing him and they're making it tough on him, but this is not new for Brunson, so even when he's getting the open shots, they're either long or they're short or they're off a little bit. But again, we'll talk about that. Has surprised me because the storylines going into the playoffs was, who can we get besides Brunson? Who's going to score besides Brunson? And now
the answer is everyone.
Now it's like everybody else is scoring, and Brunson is scoring too. Don't get me wrong, but just not efficiently. So I think the way the team has been able to get these wins anyway, despite Brunson not being at his best, has stood out. Josh Hart has stood out. He's a monster. He's just an all-around monster. McBride, who has never played more than 5 minutes in a playoff game, I read somewhere. Just how he played in game 1 and in game 2 stood out. And like I said, even though he didn't shoot as well in game 2, the confidence is there. He's somebody you can count on. The moment is not too big for him. We don't now have to go to Burks because it's a bit overwhelming for McBride, right? So that stood out for me. Thibodeau, I mean, we only have an eight man rotation, so it's not like there's a lot of options. But I don't think he would hesitate to bring in, an Achua if he needed to. So Thibodeau has stood out for me, and Bogey. Like, listen, you playing Bogey with 3 starters now. I think we should be able to get him maybe 5 more minutes. We're playing him with 3 starters, with more defensive players around him. I just really likes what he brings to this team. And when his shot is going in, when he start pedaling, almost going back court before the shot even goes in, it's good. I don't think we're getting the best from OG, and I could be underestimating what he's doing on the defensive end. Maxi's still averaging 30. Maybe without OG would be 40. I don't know. So a lot has stood out. And lastly, just the grit. Game 2, I really thought we were dead in the water. I was sitting there like, how we lose an 8-point lead? Like, come on. It was like under a minute left, ball is scrambling. And let me tell you how focused these Knicks are. Before the 3-pointer, the ball was almost turned over, right? Brunson went to drive. There was a scramble. Everybody, not Hart. DiVincenzo came from nowhere. He just went in there and picked it up. Everybody scrambling. He's like, he just picked it up. I said, look at him. Just the focus of the Knicks, and when Isaiah Hartenstein got the offensive rebound, to not even try to put it back up, pass it out to OG, back to the top. And apparently that's a play. That's a play off the offensive rebound to get it out to the wing, and Devo relocated, get it to the top. So anyway, a lot has stood out. Anything else?
No, I don't know. Do you have are we like going over like individuals and Tom Thibodeau specifically, or
we can go over any individual you want, because other than Brunson, I don't have a specific segment. So yeah, let's talk about some individual players.
Hey man, Josh Hart. Like we talked about the last show, we was talking about X factors.
Yeah.
We have pretty much a whole team full of X factors. Everybody pretty much contributed, but Josh Hart, man, Josh Hart has been balling. Like last night, he had 15 rebounds as a 6'4" guard, like leading both teams in rebounds. Like he has been a monster so far this series. Like he's averaging like 20 and 14, in the first 2 games of the series. So, like I said, this isn't over, but Josh Hart is like he's here. Like he's making a name for himself in the time that you should be making a name for yourself.
Yeah.
Like he's earning his money right now. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm sorry to cut you off. I thought you were finished.
Yeah.
I maybe Thibodeau and the Knicks saw this when they gave him that contract. That they saw that he can be this good of a role player on a championship contending team, because he is playing lights out and Philly is daring him to shoot, and 2 games in a row he's done it. Now I don't know if they're going to continue with that same strategy or if they're going to go out and play him now, but he's been phenomenal. Geoff, your thoughts on Hart?
Well, what stands out to me about Hart, I heard this stat and it blew my mind. There's only 2 Knick players in postseason history that have had over 20 points, 15 boards, and made 4 threes in a game. And the other one is Carmelo Anthony. He did it against Boston in that one game when he had like 42 and 17. That's the only other player to do it in the postseason for the Knicks. So that is rather elite company and just speaks volumes about what this guy is doing on the floor and the impact that he's making is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. One of the other X factors we talked about coming into the game was Isaiah Hartenstein. And he didn't play great, as Geoff mentioned, in game 1. Actually, statistically, he did in his 17 minutes. I think it was 7 rebounds, whatever it is. But just from the eye test, he just did not play well. Last night, though, was a different story on both ends of the floor. And kudos to Brunson, like we talked about not being efficient, but those pocket passes, to Isaiah Hartenstein were on, was on point. So let's talk about Isaiah a little bit and what we need from him going forward.
A little bit of the same. Like we're actually lucky that Embiid is hurt right now. Like I don't mind saying that. Like it's not an excuse for them because he is playing, but he can't jump over a quarter right now. You can tell that he's dragging that leg. But hey, that's on him. Isaiah Hartenstein has still been balling, preferably especially last night. But as long as he keep hustling, keep getting those offensive rebounds, and you only can do so much on defense against Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
like he's going to average 30. Like he's that good. So on defense, the only thing you could, say stay in front of him, make it difficult for him. But yeah, as an all-around game, Isaiah Hartenstein is definitely earning the money that he's going to get from us.
You saw what's possible. I mean,
right.
He did it, but you get to see like what's possible, even going forward. And to your point about Embiid, when Isaiah Hartenstein got that offensive rebound, Embiid didn't even look like he couldn't even move to put up a fight. Like he comes out with a bang, but he tires out as time goes on. I don't know. I think you're right. I think the Knicks are just saying, let him have it. Let him have it. And I want him I want to see him in pick and rolls. I want to see them make him put the ball on the floor. Maybe we can get a deflection. Like I just feel like, he just sitting out there, popping shots. And he's not efficient, but 35 is 35, even an inefficient 35.
Yep.
I don't know. Geoff?
I think that you spoke the exact words that I was thinking, and that what I'd like to see from iHeart moving forward is I want to see us use a lot of screen and roll with him and Jalen. I think that is the key to unlocking better shots for Brunson, because I feel like what's happening, they're playing a lot of drop coverage where Embiid just has to kind of stand there in the paint, and he has that presence as we know what a shot blocker he is. He just has that reputation, kind of like Mitch before he got hurt, where you're not really going to go all the way in there because he's going to erase it, right? And so I think if you can do a lot more of the high pick and rolls with Brunson, like that's different than last year. It seemed like in the Miami series last year, we had to go guard to guard pick and roll because when we brought that big, they just blitzed, and then Brunson had a hard time getting the ball out. But now I think that we want to get Joel in that, because if they have to switch, then that gives Brunson a better opportunity to get all the way to the rim or at least closer to the rim. And I think that's going to help his field goal percentage quite a bit if you don't just have Joel just kind of lingering back there. I think that, I don't know if it's a subconscious thing or whatever, but I think that's definitely part of Brunson's struggles is that he's settling, I think, for longer range shots instead of going in and shooting those shots inside, which has really been his bread and butter. And if you can drag Embiid out of the paint, first of all, that's more movement for him. That means less time that he's going to be able to beast on offense, because we know from both games that he's got a limited amount of gas in the tank, right? He's not able to go for 4 quarters right now. So the more activity you force him into, the more movement you force him into, I think the less effective he is on both ends of the floor. And I think you unlock a lot of things that way. So I think, and Hartenstein, in my opinion, is a much better screener than Mitch. And he gives you a lot more, options once you have the screen. In other words, you can do a lot more with that screen and roll with iHeart. And so to me, I love what he did in game 2. And you saw that even in that third quarter already, Embiid couldn't go out to challenge those little push shots, and that's why he was able to be 7 of 8. That's a good look for him. And everything he was getting was inside, and it was inside because they weren't really able to contest it. And if you leave him wide open, he can punish you. And so to me, I think that as far as X factors are concerned, iHeart seems to me to be the potential to really be the one to get Brunson back on track and really solidify this series on the road for us in games 3 and 4.
Yeah. Do you think, in terms of how we play Embiid, your thoughts, Jerrell, leave it the way it is, let him get his, we're going to, if he gets 30, 35, we should still win? Or would you also like to see us try to get a little more movement out of him, make him work a little bit more?
I'll keep it the same. I'll at least keep it the same until we lose a game. Okay. I don't see the point of switching right now, but it's good to throw different looks at him regardless, because that's what Tom Thibodeau usually does. But I mean, that's a good question, because how do you play him? Do you play him differently because they're at home now and the role players will actually play a little better, because role players usually play better at home? So if you double him now, might get lit up by Nicholas Batum. He might have a good game at home opposed to being in the Garden. Same thing with Tobias Harris and Kelly Oubre. Like, none of them has really done anything yet. Like, their whole offense has pretty much been Embiid and Maxey already. So if you do double them, you just have to know that those shots are going to be open, because he's a willing passer and he's a very, very good passer out of a double team.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to double him.
Okay.
But I just feel like he can't just stand in one spot and just pop shots. I don't think you need. I don't think we could. I wouldn't double him. You're right.
You're not worried about foul trouble, though? Because that's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about him killing us. I'm worried about him killing us on the line, because that means they get to dictate pace. The game will slow down. He doesn't get to run. If he's on the line half the game, that's in their favor by far.
Can you put your hands up then? I mean, like,
so since we win, I'm thinking that you don't like the optics of it. You just don't like us, like we're not trying.
Right. I just feel like this guy can't move laterally. Can you put him in a pick and roll? Can you play a little closer on him? But I get what you're saying. If he does put the ball on the floor Mitch and iHeart are not moving laterally. Like I'm like, if he puts the ball on the floor, it's an easy deflection. Like he just doesn't move well.
Right.
But the flip side of it is that it could be a foul on Mitch or Isaiah Hartenstein if he puts the ball on the floor.
Especially with what Philly just did today, with like doing the grievance and had the NBA come out and say that Maxey was really fouled. Like they're definitely going to get calls in Game 3, and they're going to try to punch us in the mouth Game 3 as soon as the game starts. Like we have to be ready for that, and I expect Embiid to be on the line a lot the next couple games. Like it's going to be a tough series. It's not over.
Yeah. But let's talk about who else you want to talk about as far as the X factors we talked about coming into the series.
What about Deuce? Deuce deserves a little bit of love, especially after Game 1. Like I have Philly fans, you know, I live in the area, so I talk to Philly fans every day. Some of them obviously don't watch the Knicks, so a lot of them didn't know who Deuce McBride was.
Right.
They know now.
Right. We just let some bum come off the bench and kill us in the playoffs. That's exactly what they said verbatim. So, Deuce is making a name for himself when he's supposed to, just like Josh Hart. Like everybody's pretty much stepping up. But Brunson, he hasn't stepped up yet. But yeah, Deuce has been balling. Like he definitely deserves some love in both games, but preferably Game 1 because that shot was falling.
Yeah. Snatching the ball from like those. I don't know if they were 5 points in a row, but snatching the ball from Maxey and laying it up, coming down, pulling up for the jumper, getting fouled. He may not have shot well, but those were some big moments for him. And like I said earlier, I just like the fact that he's a solid part of the rotation, and we don't have to worry about him getting, being overwhelmed. Right. Anything on McBride for you, Geoff, before we move on to Bogey?
Well, I find it interesting that McBride was the only guy with a negative plus minus in Game 2, and I thought he played pretty well. Like I was shocked to hear he was like -8 when he was on the floor. My favorite play of the game is when he snatched that ball from Maxey and just the heart. He's like that's a guy who was a quarterback in high school. That's just a tough, hard-nosed guy. You're not gonna intimidate him. You're not gonna out muscle him. You're not gonna do any of that stuff. And I actually have been really happy with Deuce. And you know what? This may be a hot take, but I would rather see Deuce taking the Maxey assignment than OG. And my reasoning behind that is that I think that allows more versatility with OG to play help defense wherever we might need it. And I don't think we maximize OG's defensive impact if we just have him chasing around a little guard the whole game, especially if he's not stopping Maxey anyway. Maxey was 5 of 11 for 3.
I agree
for the goal. So to me, I would rather have, even if it's Devo and McBride, I would rather stick those two guys on him the entire game and let OG kind of have more of a free safety role where he's able to roam a little bit because he's so good about getting back to his man and recovering from help. So if you were to send a second guy, a token second guy at Joel, he might get a couple steals, but if Joel has that vision, he's also going to be able to get back out to the shooters pretty well. And I think you can even cheat a little bit with Maxey, you know what I mean? And send some extra help that way as a deterrent as well. So to me, I think that utilizes his skill set a little bit better. And because to me, Maxey is the one that's the most concerning. Like Embiid has been fantastic for given the situation of his health and conditioning. He's been amazing. But, when we can focus on Maxey and keep him from doing his thing, it really feels like the rest of the Philly offense bogs down and they go through those scoring droughts. And so to me, my primary concern is Maxey, and Deuce helps out with that quite a bit. And so I would like to see him, and not that he can shut down Maxey. Don't get me wrong. He's not That's not what I'm talking about. But he's going to make Maxi's life really difficult. Like, he's going to make him work that much harder. You know how he does. He guards 94 feet. He's just very physical. He gets around those screens like nobody else on the team. Like, he's outstanding at fighting over those screens, so you don't get those easy pick and pop opportunities on the Joel Maxi pick and roll. Just simple things like that, I think, is where Deuce can really affect the game in a positive way. And he didn't shoot the ball from deep well in game 2, but I thought his offense for the most part was pretty good. I thought he did some nice things on the court. And like I said, I was shocked when I heard he was -8, because that didn't back up the eye test at all. And it just shows you that box plus minus is not the be all end all of stats, that you have to look at it more of a context of the game. And I thought that stretch in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter between he and Bogdanovic, man, they gave us some massive points. And you want to talk about a game that we won by 3 points without that stretch. Because remember, in the fourth quarter, Nurse kept Maxi and Embiid on the court to start the fourth quarter, and we rested Brunson at that time. And I'm not sure that, and I think we even expanded the lead to 8 during that stretch. And so those, we talked about before the playoffs, how are we going to survive the Brunson minutes, the no Brunson minutes? Well, we actually thrived in the no Brunson minutes because Bogey came in and hit a couple of clutch shots, got him out of that zone lickety split. You saw those couple of tough plays from McBride. And so that, that cushion is exactly what we needed, because if you don't build that there, that 8-0 spurt at the end of the game would be for naught, and so every point, every possession mattered. And so I think those two guys, especially at the start of the fourth quarter, were just phenomenal.
They were. Going back to the I agree. I wanted OG on Maxi when we first started the series, but after game 1, you could see OG does better guarding up than he does guarding down, right? So 3-4s, an occasional switch on a 5. If he's switching out on a 2 for a few seconds, that's one thing, but chasing around, at least Maxi anyway, you're absolutely right. But this is what I'll say about McBride, though. Embiid sets really good screens. Like, there is no space to really fight over a screen. You just have to wait for it to be finished. and just run back in place. But there's also a lot of switching, and not a lot, but sometimes they're switching on those picks. And so now you got McBride and Embiid, and Embiid just shooting over the top. It's fine. I thought Devo did a great job also, a really good job on Max. I'm not going to say great. He had 35 points, 34 or 35 points. But I agree, both of those guys on Maxi, just do the best you can. And if you get switched out onto Embiid in the perimeter, he's just going to shoot over the top of anybody, really.
But I don't mind limiting Embiid to be a jump shooter. Like, does he make some? Yeah, but to me, that he's good at it. But if he's shooting jumpers all day, okay. I mean, he's not getting to the free throw line that way. He's not, especially if he's out on the perimeter, then he's not there to get a rebound if he does miss. We've got a lot of, we can get the defensive board and then we can push the other way. So to me, I don't mind him being a standstill jump shooter. Like, if that's how they're going to utilize Embiid in their offense, I think that's a win for the Knicks. Even though he's terrific. Don't get me wrong. He's still going to get his points. But again, what did we see? Especially in the second half, not as many of those are dropping. If he's going to be 12 of 29 and primarily a jump shooter, that's a win for the Knicks, even if he does get 34 points.
I guess.
I definitely do not want him going to the basket stuff.
No. But get your hand. To me, he's just out there popping shots, and we just sitting there watching it. Like, all right,
But I'm just saying, like, say if we try,
that's less damage than him,
right,
posting up, getting us in foul troubles. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
To me, like if on the flip side, if he's going to the hole most of the game, he's going to score or get fouled.
Yeah.
And he's too good of a free throw shooter for me to do that.
Yeah, and I think that may even be why it's giving him a little space. Like basically,
and it's the playoffs. So the refs, to me, he's a superstar. Like he just won the MVP. He's the reigning MVP. Like they're looking to get him calls. To me,
yeah.
He's almost like the
Remember, Mitch especially struggles with stretch fives anyway, right? I think that that's always been the guy who's given him the most trouble, and so I think he's he wants to play more and drop and protect the basket anyway. That's just his nature. That's where he's most comfortable. That's where he's most effective. And so, but I thought even in game one he made those jumpers. I thought in game one, especially in the second half, he forced him into a bunch of tough jump shots, not. Like the second, in game two, I kind of understand where he's coming from, like just popping shots. But I really felt like in game one that Mitch really contested him very well in the second half.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. Let's just quickly talk about Bogey before we move on to Brunson.
Oh, I love what Bogey's doing. And you know what's funny about Bogey is he hasn't really had a really good shooting night yet.
Nope.
I just kind of feel like one of these games, maybe not this, I just have a feeling one of these games he's going to go off. Like he hit a couple of big threes for us in that fourth quarter, but I don't think in either game his shooting percentage has been reflective of what he's capable of doing. And I think he's going to have a game where he's just going to hit 4 or 5 threes, and that's going to be a massive difference maker. And credit to him for just being ready. Here's a guy who's a vet, who's used to playing 30, 35 minutes a game, has been in a lot of high pressure playoff situations in Utah. He knows what it's about, and he's just like, when my numbers call, that's when I'm going to be ready. And if coach doesn't have me on the floor, that means that he's got someone in there he thinks is better. He's accepted his role. He's really filling it well. I think he provides an element to that offense that is huge. And it's one of those things where you don't even really think about him, and all of a sudden he's got 9 points, right? And that so
one. Oh. That's not what I was trying to play, and now I don't know how to cut it off. Okay, here we go.
Is it one of your screens open?
Can y'all hear that?
Yeah.
We just go with it. That's Eb, also from Nick of Time.
Oh, okay.
It's rolling, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't even find it to.
It's just on in the background.
That's crazy. But anyway, I love what Bogdanovic is doing. I think he's really proving his worth, and this is kind of what we hoped for and envisioned when we got him. And so I'm really excited about that. And with the three, as you said, with the 3 starters on the floor with them, you kind of can hide them defensively. And I don't really remember so far, knock on wood, but I don't remember in his minutes just feeling like we were getting, crushed on the other end of the floor. So credit to him, man.
Partly because like a lot of people complain about his defense, but nobody on Philly other than Maxey and Embiid is doing anything.
Right.
So you don't really have to worry about Bogey's defense. Like we always talk about the scoring in the non-Brunson minutes. There's only 2 scorers coming off the bench in the non-Brunson minutes, and that's him and Deuce. So they have to keep hitting, man. Like Bogey has been excellent for us so far, and hopefully he can, keep that shot going because he is streaky. Like the next 2 games, he can't hit the side of a barn, but the next 2 games he could score like 16 points off the bench, like in like 10 minutes. Like you never know with him. But when that shot is falling, I know Nick Nurse wouldn't just put a zone on us so easily like we used to. Like this team is different this year.
Yeah. Actually, wasn't it against the zone that Bogey hit those 2 3-pointers?
Right.
Sure
And they
was.
got right out of the zone too. As soon as he hit those 2, it was over.
Right. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk about Brunson. Just I'll keep it simple. Your thoughts on Brunson. I ain't gonna even prep it too much. Your thoughts on Brunson game 1 and 2.
Hey man, sometimes it just happens. Like, and don't get me wrong, Philadelphia has played Brunson pretty tough all season. But to me, it's really on him. Like Brunson has cooked players with length all season. It really doesn't matter what type of player you put on him. When he's on, and he just haven't been on the last couple games. Like I understand, like Nicholas Batum and Kelly Oubre, have length and they're really physical with him. But a lot of times Brunson was just missing chippies that he's always made all season. Like he gets into his spots like he usually does, and he's just been missing. So, until he hits those shots, I guess, fans that don't like him or already had a question about him is going to say why isn't he doing anything? But shooting is the only part of the game. Also, he's still being a leader. He's still passing the ball. He still has a nice floor game. I wish it might have tweaked it a little bit. He could be a little better when it comes to his floor game, but it's not like he's not playing well at all. Let's just say that he's still hustling out there. He's still trying to get charges. He's still doing the right passes when he's supposed to, but that shot is just not falling.
Right.
And some of those shots are pretty bad. A couple of those shots last night were bad shots. In the fourth quarter too, it almost looked like he was forcing it a little bit.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, I went back and I watched from the middle of the third quarter to the end of the game, and he didn't look as terrible as I thought. On the replay. My expectations was just higher, and I get it. I get what Philly is doing to make it difficult for him, but I don't think they're doing anything Brunson hasn't seen before. That being said, he hasn't had good games against Philadelphia all season. So they're doing something to disrupt him. But like I said earlier on the show earlier today, even when he has an open shot or even when he does get to his spot, he seems sped up a little, like he's missing short or he's missing long. I mean, I don't want to read too much into it. He's rebounding the ball. He's playing really good defense. He's fighting over screens. Those passes to Isaiah Hartenstein to generate points from that center position, every point counted. And iHeart was 7 of 8. iHeart can't create his own shots. Every shot he got, it was created for him. And that was mostly and probably all of Brunson, 5 turnovers in the first game. I think he only had 1 turnover last night. Somebody correct me, if I'm wrong. And there was a period in the fourth quarter where it seemed like he was forcing it a little. And that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is players of his stature, like, they never feel like they out of a game. They never feel like, oh, I missed 5 in a row. I shouldn't take this shot. I should give it. Like, they always feel like the next one is gonna go in. So that's just the mentality those type of players have. They just see it differently than us, because I was sure, like, why are you? What are we doing here? Like you pulling back, going 1-on-1, like you hit your last 5 shots. But for them, short memory. The next one is going to be good. Geoff, just your thoughts on Brunson through 2 games, and then I'll check in with the chat as well.
I want to give Philly's defense a lot of credit. I think one of the things that they've been able to do because of Embiid, I've noticed that especially on like screening actions, they're kind of hanging out behind Brunson, and he has that kind of double lift on his jumper, and they're kind of blocking it from behind or altering it from behind. I don't think I've seen that really from anybody else. So credit to Nick Nurse and what he's doing. But at the same time, I think I've seen a lot of shots that just kind of rimmed out. Like it was there, It was a good look, and it just didn't make it. And I think BX Fordham Baller has a good point. I think he just needs to relax. I think he's pressing a little bit. He's trying. I think he's trying too hard. If he just let the game come to him a little bit more, and just how Tibbs always says, let the game come to you. The game will tell you what play to make. How often did we see he had Hart wide open in the corner, and he decided to take a leaning jumper against 2 defenders in the paint, and that's kind of one of the things that they're doing. The paint's not open because they've got Embiid there, and they're just kind of collapsing in there still. So, if Josh Hart is open in the corner, just pass him the ball out there. I'm not saying he has to shoot that shot necessarily, but, get the defense moving and rotating, cut, do something to get back to it. But, I think there are some things, but I think he just needs to kind of relax. And the other thing I'll say about Brunson, he's such a smart player. I think he's going to figure it out. I think in a couple of the series, he wasn't like overly amazing in game 1 and game 2, but he kept getting better as the series went along. You definitely saw that against Miami, but by the time game 4, game 5, he was really in his bag, and they had, I think you can make the argument that their defense on Brunson was equally good, if not better. I mean, the Miami Heat are just an outstanding team. I think he's almost hunting Maxey a little too much, because Maxey has done a pretty solid job when he switched on to when he switched on to Brunson on the pick and roll. I think he's forcing that a little bit much instead of just kind of making the right play. But like I said, in the third quarter, when we were kind of using him as a decoy, that offense was humming. Like, he is, take advantage of the attention that you're getting, not necessarily by shooting and scoring. And we're kind of spoiled because we're used to him taking all of those hard shots and making them, right? And so I think his percentage at the rim is like 16% or something like that so far in the series, which is like, you got to figure that's at least going to regress to the mean. And if it does, that's great for the Knicks. But I find it hard to believe he's going to do that for an entire series. So I'm not overly worried about Brunson. He's smart. He's going to figure it out. And you know what? They had 2 shots with him having a bad game, and they went 0 for 2. So, I just think a good Brunson game is coming.
Yeah. Can we win this series without him being a bit more efficient, or playing, just being a bit more efficient and shooting a bit better than he is?
You say, can we win the series without him?
Not necessarily, not without him, but, without him.
If he's playing at the same level he's playing now.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say no, because you can tell that both games that we played have been very close. Like, it could have went either way. So yeah, Brunson definitely needs to step it up in order for us to win this series, I think.
Yeah, if we're gonna win a game on the road, I don't think we can win a road game with Brunson going 8 for 29 or 7 for 24 or something like that. I think his efficiency numbers have to improve. But again, he's he's a tough shot taker and he's a tough shot maker. And yeah, he had a terrible shooting game in game 2, but when the game was on the line, it wasn't a swish, but he made the 3-pointer that cut it to 2. We don't win that game if he doesn't make that shot, So, even when he's down, he's still, clutch for us. He's still important for us. And that's incredible when you consider he had missed his previous 6 shots in the quarter, including I thought that was a decent look in the corner that he got. He did that jab step and then he shot the 3.
Mm-hmm.
I expected that shot to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the best quality of shot, but it's one that we've seen Brunson take and make quite a bit. And he's 2 for 12 so far in the series from 3-point range. And that's, this is a guy who's shooting 38-40% for most of the year from out there. And so, again, a little bit of regression to the mean there, and I think we're fine. But if he continues to struggle like this the rest of the way, I think we're going to have a tough time closing this out.
Yeah. Jerrell, before you go, I just want to get to one more question.
Okay.
He's expecting fouls call. He's not. Yeah, he's getting bodied on some of those drives. But Greg said he's trying to be the man. He needs to get back down to earth and curb his ego. Do you think? Obviously, if you're a great player, you have an ego. The question is, do you think he's being selfish? Do you think he's out there trying to be the man? Do you think? There's some of that sentiment in the chat and on Twitter. What's your thoughts on that?
First, I want to say that everybody has an ego. Every player in the NBA has an ego. They should have an ego. That's how they got to the NBA in the first place. The professional basketball players. Do I think he's trying to be the man? No, not at all. I think Brunson has just been missing shots. I think that's all it is. Like, if some of those shots go in, we don't have this conversation at all. Because if it was his ego, how come none of his other play other than shooting has went down? Like we've already said, his defense is actually, he's actually been better on defense. He's still trying to take charges. He's still making the right passes, hustling. Like, he's still a vocal leader out there. Like, nothing has fallen off from him other than his shot. So it can't just be because of his ego. That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, if his shots was falling, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, I guess because when you say it that way, as Greg put it, it's almost like his intention is not team focused, right? It's like, yeah, I have an ego and it's team focused, and no, I have an ego and it's about me. It's not about the team winning. It's not about anything but me getting mine, and that's not Brunson.
And I don't know how did the narrative change that fast just off 2 bad games?
Yeah, well, these are people that didn't like Brunson from the beginning, who thought he was selfish from the beginning, who think you're just going to win the game by just moving the ball around and not necessarily by people actually putting it in the basket.
I guess, but like, I've been following Brunson for a very long time. I've never seen people say he's not humble. Like, I don't really get that at all. Like, I've never seen, like, in any level that he's ever been at, or people that, have talked to him personally or whatever, like him not being humble and him having an ego and him thinking he's bigger than the team. Mm-hmm. That's not him at all. That doesn't really make sense to me. But hey, everybody has their own opinion. It is what it is.
Yeah. Greg. Geoff.
Yeah, I don't understand where the selfishness angle is coming at with Brunson at all. I don't. My eye test doesn't show that at all. And here's the thing. Here's a guy who's like practically a 40, 50, call it 40, 50, 85 guy, 50, 40, 85 guy for most of the season. And, he knows that Julius Randle's not going to be there. He knows that you don't have a lot of other high volume shot creators. And this is what he's done all season long. And especially since, in the final month of the season, he averaged over 30 points a game on great efficiency doing exactly what he's doing now. And so it kind of is nonsensical to me that, oh, well, now it's the playoffs, so I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, why does that make any sense? Like, you keep doing what you know and what you do best. He's the best shot maker we have on this team. And yeah, they're not falling right now, but you have to trust yourself. You can't, you can't just say, well, I had 2 bad games in a row, I'm going to stop shooting, because if he stops shooting, what does the Knicks offense look like then? Then it's really easy for everybody else defensively. You just man up. He's not creating any advantages or doing anything if he's not, being a threat to score does a lot for us even when he's not scoring, especially you saw that in game 1 from the offensive rebounding perspective. We killed them on the glass in game 1. Now, to the Sixers' credit, they did a much better job in game 2 of defending that. But again, I think he was 1 for 7 in the fourth quarter or until he hit that final shot. That was just, I don't expect that trend to continue. I'll be very surprised if he shoots 30% for the entire playoffs. I would be shocked if that's the case.
Yeah, and we 2-0, but let's not act like we blew Philly out.
Right.
Like game 1 was the game was in the balance with like 1 minute, maybe even less than a minute to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to score 8 points in under 30 seconds in game 2. So we 2-0, and it's great. The heart, the hustle of this team, but Philly has been right there.
Yep.
Either one of these games could have went, either way. And I just want to say, Greg, we won these 2 games because of the ball movement that saves Brunson's behind. No, we didn't win games because of the ball movement. We won games because Philly made it their business to make it difficult for Brunson, and to have other players beat them. And they stepped up and did that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of Brunson's gravity and the attention that he draws that they were even able to get those shots. So let's not act like moving the ball around is what wins you games. It doesn't. It's a very important part of the game in terms of getting good looks. Don't get me wrong. But if you don't have the players that can knock those shots down, if you don't have somebody with gravity, so when those players get the ball, they have open looks, what is the ball movement going to do? You're just going to get the ball and somebody's going to be right there in your face.
Right.
So even though he's not shooting well, the gravity, is still there. Anything else on Brunson? I know you said you gotta.
Yeah, I'm gonna step out. I just wanted to say, did you want to talk about Tibbs at all? I just wanted to say something about Tibbs.
Yeah. We can definitely, talk about Thibodeau, thoughts on his rotations and adjustments, and anything else you want to say.
Before I get out of here, I just want to give Tibbs his flowers, man. A lot of people don't. A lot of people I've seen on Twitter and some people I know personally don't think the Knicks have a culture yet still.
Oh.
It's almost like they're not watching. They haven't watched us play. Like, you could tell the people who watch the games or not, man. Like the way that we play, the way that we never quit, the way that we don't, we play hard every second of the game until the game is over, whether we're winning or losing. That's all Tibbs. Jalen Brunson is just an extension of Tibbs.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same type of mindset, and you can tell by the way that they talk about him that the whole team has that mindset. Like in the last game, in the press conference, Josh Hart said that he'll run through a wall for Tibbs. And he gets a bad rap when it comes to playing players' minutes because they are the ones that actually go to him to tell him that they want to play that many minutes. And somebody like Josh Hart, he played 48 of them. That's not because Tibbs just wants to run his players into the ground. It's the playoffs, and that's what Josh Hart wants to do. So as long as he's effective on the court, Tibbs isn't going to take him out.
Right.
But Tibbs has already shown that he's able to adjust some of the rotations that he had with Bogey. even in an 8-man rotation, it still doesn't look the same. So you can tell that he's actually getting better at coaching at his old age. Like he doesn't do the same type of substitution patterns that he used to do just last year. Yeah, give Tibbs his flowers. Like if you're going to disrespect him, cool, but the respect has to come at some point. Like he's at right now, we're 2-0 against a championship coach. Nick Nurse got a ring. So, if you want to talk about Tibbs being out-coached by other coaches, talk about the times that he out-coaches championship coaches too, because that's what he's doing right now. Like close games are won by coaches too. It's not just the players in the clutch. Nick Nurse, I'm pretty sure that he's going to come back with something because he's a good coach as well. But Tibbs is doing a pretty good job so far. And we just got to give it up to him.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the work is done even before we got to the playoffs, because I'm not sure that win yesterday was an X and O's win. I think that win was mostly the culture of the Knicks. Play 48 minutes. Don't give up. There's always a chance. There's always an opportunity. Just think about the Knicks. They didn't panic. When Isaiah got that offensive rebound, he didn't try to put it up, like just throw it up and let me see what I can get out to OG to the top of the key for Devo. Just the presence of mind. And those are players that are locked in and wasn't nervous down the stretch despite the fact that they were down. They talked about it. They believed that they still had an opportunity to win the game. Jeff, any thoughts on
well, not only that with Hartenstein, he was quadruple teamed and falling to the ground when he makes that pass to
Right.
OG. The presence of mind right there, that's not an accident. That's something that they practice. If you heard Fred Katz on KFS, he said they actually practiced that play. So he knew exactly where he was supposed to go with the ball, even as he's losing his balance, even as he has Kyle Lowry flopping like a dead fish trying to pick up a foul. All of that stuff is happening. And apparently, this is crazy. I never suspected this, but they actually practice and coach turning those rebounds into 3-point shot opportunities.
Right.
That's insane. Like I've never even heard of that. and then the other crazy thing is that you would think that 13 seconds left, he pulls Brunson to sub in Deuce for defense, and then he brings Brunson back in for offense.
Right.
That is a great substitution down the stretch, because Deuce is just so much better a defender, and I think that was part of the reason that we were able to get that amazing block by Hartenstein down the stretch there. I think you're putting more pressure on the ball. You have to do different things, and so I mean, I'm not the right person to ask because I've always been a pro Tibbs guy. I think his win-loss record kind of speaks for itself. So I'm not real sure why people are so. I mean, I get he had the 37-win season, and I didn't think he did a good job coaching the team that year. But I for the most part, he's been really good. This team takes on his personality. He has to produce a championship. I think Keith Turner's right, but he's got to have championship players. You got to have a championship roster before you can talk about that. And I don't think in any of his previous seasons, and probably not even this one, if we're being fully honest, can you look at the Knicks roster and say, yeah, this is definitely championship caliber, roster. I mean, we're a roster that 2 through 8 is very talented and does a lot of things. And credit to Thibodeau for this. It feels like everybody is playing above their weight. And I think Dante DiVincenzo has even said that. He's got me playing the best ball of my career, and there are other guys who say, I think Josh Hart would say that too. I think Deuce McBride would say that too. And so, he's got to have something to do with that development. You know what I mean? I don't think you can just say, oh, well, it's Johnny Bryant or it's this or, these guys who are on this team, even Jalen Brunson is performing at the peak of his career. And I think, the coach deserves a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't really have anything to add to what both of you have said about Tibbs. Just his rotations and the adjustments he's making. Well, I'll leave that. I that's just me that want to see a little something different with Embiid. But I think that's the game plan.
Right.
That's the game. Whether I like it or not, that's the game plan. But you're right. The Brunson and McBride, offense, defense, different things he's doing. Like I said before, I don't know if that was Bogey's time to come in or if he brought him in because we weren't, working that well, against the zone, just pushing all the right buttons. But again, a lot of his work is before the game, even before the playoffs even started, just in terms of the mentality,
Mhm.
you know, of this team. So yeah.
Real
kudos
quick,
to him. Mhm.
real quick before I get out of here, old Tibbs wouldn't have sat Dante DiVincenzo in game one like he did
For a rookie.
for.
Well, not a rookie, but somebody who hadn't, doesn't have a lot of playoff experience.
I'm sure in Tibbs' mind, he still probably thinks of Tibbs as a rookie.
He'll always be a rookie.
He's always
He'll be
gonna be
34 years old and be like,
Yep.
rookie.
rookie. Yep, because he's gonna be
Right,
the only person
right.
on the team. So I'm about to skip out of here. Everybody have a good night.
Have a great night, bud.
Hopefully we can get games 3 and 4 and it'd be a sweep, but we'll see. I got Knicks in 5. I had them in 6, but I like the fact that we got both of these games. We just have to survive game 3. Like game 3, they're gonna throw everything at us because they know they have to win that game. They're not gonna want to go down 0-3.
Yeah. And do you think they're playing? Somebody said in the chat earlier, the Knicks are playing with house money in game 3.
I wouldn't say house money. Like it's still a series. Like series don't usually start until the visiting player wins on the other person home's court. So if we win game 3, then I'll say I still don't want to count my chickens. I like I'm kind of like Tibbs. Like I don't quit until it's actually over. Like I don't say anything is definite until the clock hits 0. Like we have to win 4 games in 7. We only won 2.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And they were squeakers.
and they were squeakers. So
Squeakers at that. And you would expect probably their role players may play a little better at home.
yep.
Buddy Hill might be better at home. Batum may be better at home. I'm not sure about Oubre. He's putting out a lot of energy on on Brunson, but they may be better at home, the role players, I mean.
Matter of fact, I hope we play with more intensity in game 3. We're gonna need it. They're gonna throw everything at us in game 3. I already got people talking about it. Like
I actually thought they played like the more desperate team in game 2.
true, especially at the end, that fourth quarter when we got down. Like you could tell we wanted the ball more than they did.
Yeah.
But let me get out of here. I checked y'all out.
Appreciate you.
Die Hard Giants will be live during the NFL draft on Thursday. Obviously the Knicks play the same time. I'm gonna be talking about both and watching both at the same time. So I'll see y'all then.
Nice.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah. Let me drop the link in case anybody want to join. But we don't really is there anything else? Let me just see. We haven't talked about OG. OG's play. Statistically it hasn't been great. Maxey, he's matched up on, not all the time, but at least he starts the game on. And I don't have the breakdown of how many possessions was Maxey being guarded by OG, by by Deuce. I don't have that that breakdown, but I get it. I get it that a lot of what he does doesn't show up in the stat sheet. I get that. I get that he's very plugged in. I think he had 8 points for 4 rebounds, but he was still plugged in enough to get the rebound off the block, to hit the 2, to the 2 free throws. But I guess my question is, were you expecting more from OG, and are you still expecting more from him, or do you think what he's doing right now is exactly what we need?
I think I expected a little bit more. And what I mean by that, I think I expected more corner threes from him and maybe attacking closeouts a little bit more. And I don't feel like we've really seen those opportunities for him very much. And I
Mhm.
don't know if that's because of Jalen Brunson's struggles, or I'm not really sure. I haven't watched it close enough to like zone in on that to see what the precise reason why he's not getting those looks and opportunities is. But and again, I said earlier, I don't think we're utilizing him to best effect defensively. So I think it's right to be a little bit disappointed in his play. I mean, just I think his scoring is certainly below average. I don't know if his elbow is 100% or not. It doesn't look like it's bothering him, but I haven't seen him take a whole bunch of jump shots. To his credit, he made the 2 free throws down the stretch. He had the big rebound down the stretch. You know, again, I would like to see him as either on Batum or Oubre or one of those guys and play much more as a help guy defensively than to just try and take on Maxey. I just don't think that's a good matchup. Maxey is probably faster than anybody in the NBA. He's just so quick, and I just don't think that's OG's wheelhouse as far as And as you said rightly, if it's for a possession or two on a switch, okay. But I don't think that needs to be your primary defensive plan, and I think it's one of the reasons why Maxey has really gone off in both of the first 2 games. He's a fantastic player, first of all, credit to him, but I don't think our defensive plan for him has been great.
Yeah, but what about him offensively? Is he even in the corner? Sometimes I'll be like, is OG in the game? Like, is he? Are we running something different? Is his role different? Do you even see him spotting up in the corner?
That's one thing, and that's a great question because he's been so invisible. I don't even know. Like, honestly, I can't answer your question because he's been so invisible on that end of the floor. I don't like he's not making any impact with cuts or drives or how many even field goal attempts does he have in the postseason? I would venture to guess not many. And I don't know if that's because Josh Hart is just taking on a lot more of the load. Maybe that has something to do with it. Or maybe he's expending so much energy defensively that he doesn't have the energy on offense. But if he's expending all that energy defensively, I would expect better results than what we've gotten. I mean, our at least in terms of Max. And again, bad job by me. I don't have the breakdown of how Maxey did when OG was guarding him, because that would really be the fairest assessment. But again, it didn't seem like anybody was stopping Maxey. He shot over 50% from the field. He was 5 of 11 from 3. He got to the free throw line. I mean, he was scoring on all 3 levels. But at the same time, and this is true of Embiid also, a lot of the shots that they made, I'm just like, sometimes you just got to tip your cap and be like, that's just great offense. I mean, that's a good shot. Like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
I don't think and I think he got most of his points in the first half. Like, I think he had 20 something points in the first half. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. He was, he talked about being sick, and the longer the game went on, the harder it was for him. Ivory 10, brings up a good point. Maybe because he's chasing Maxey, sort of like Oubre's offense disappearing, chasing Brunson. But it still
Maxey
goes
scored
back.
11 points in that fourth quarter. Did you know that? He had 11.
He did have 11 in the fourth. Okay.
And then in that 19-6 run, he had 11 of those 19. So he was the primary guy. I think Kyle Lowry hit a 3, and I
Mhm.
think the rest were Embiid free throws. But
Okay.
it was mostly Maxey doing the damage in the fourth quarter.
Okay. Yeah. you know, maybe there's something going on statistically that we don't see. You know, in terms of why, because I could have swore after the first game we would not see OG starting on Maxi in game 2, and we did. You know, so maybe there'll be a change between game 2 and 3. Maybe, you know, they're saying the same thing with Embiid. You know, 30 points, hold everybody else down. Will be good. I think it does ask a lot of DiVincenzo, though. We do want him to score and chase Maxi. That's a lot. Um, you know, that's a lot. And I'm not sure if
Maybe
he's
that's the calculus, Queen. Maybe you hit on it. Maybe it's we want more offense from DiVincenzo and McBride, and we're not really expecting that much from OG anyway. So let him focus entirely on the defensive end, even if he's not, you know, completely locked down. Nobody's going to be completely locked down, but let him give most of his effort on trying to shut him down. And, you know, DiVincenzo was really good from the field in game 2. He was 4 of 8 from deep, 5 of 10 from the field. I think he was a perfect 5 of 5 from the free throw line. And so his offensive contribution in game 2 was outstanding. And I think it's funny because in game 1, I don't think he was very good defensively. And I think that was one of the reasons why McBride played over him down the stretch, in addition to McBride hitting shots. But if you notice DiVincenzo's defensive effort in game 2, I thought it was superior compared to what he did in game 1.
Right.
I thought he was really disruptive in terms of challenging the dribble handoffs and just making it more difficult for Philadelphia to get into the flow of their offense.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No doubt about it. But I think that's a good point. Um, OG ain't giving us what Devo was doing. Can give us potentially on the offensive end, you know. So if he's chasing around Maxi, you know, what is he going to do for us offense? What can he do for us offense? It may impact his offense, I guess is what I'm trying to say, as you point out. Just put your fastest defender on Maxi, who's McBride. But how many? Maxi plays 40 minutes a game. McBride doesn't. Right? So it's going to have to be McBride and somebody else to play, you know, to play Maxi, you know? Yeah.
And we did see
Jeff
some
losing Lowry. Listen, Lowry is just a pit bull. You saw the 2 offensive rebounds he came up with back to back.
Lowry can still play. I mean, he was good in the playoffs last year. That guy is just a nuisance. I mean, that's all there is to it. He's smart. He's a good guard. He can shoot it still at a reasonable clip. And Lowry didn't really kill us in game 2. I mean, did he have 10 points? What like
It wasn't the points. It was he was a bit disruptive. Like whenever we thought we was going to the basket and we was going to get a layup, here he comes knocking it out of bounds, you know, a few times. But yeah, you're right. In terms of like his offense, it wasn't it wasn't like the first game. Yeah, it wasn't like the first game. I'm looking for something. Okay, I can't. I can't find it. Anything
Lowry's
else?
a pain. That Lowry's a pain in the neck, man. He just relishes. We should have signed him just so that he couldn't play against us in the playoffs.
We tried. For what I understand, we tried.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if anything else before we move on to game 3 and what we are looking to do. Are you surprised? I know the answer anyway. But I know Ajay might be listening. Are you surprised with the shortened rotation? I know coming in, we were like, some of us were like, Tibbs should play 10. What's the sense of having, all of these players who can give you something only to cut the rotation down? I'm thinking to 9. It is at 8.
I thought it was going to be 8.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of thought it was going to be 8. I think I said that a while ago. I kind of thought it was going to be Deuce, it was going to be Mitch, and it was going to be Bogey. And I thought 7.5, if Bogey isn't bringing it on offense, you're not going to see him. You know what I mean? He can be almost, I mean, he's been good enough where I don't think that's the case, but if he was bad, I think he would have become a lot more situational, or maybe just first half minutes. And I think that still could be true, but he did have some. Look, I think he's playing really well and he deserves minutes. But yeah, it's you're not going to see more than an 8-person rotation in this series. Precious just doesn't, with Embiid on the floor, Precious just doesn't have a really good role this series. That's not to say
Correct.
if we advance to another round, there might not be some matchups that are more favorable for him. But I think you have to have either Mitch or Hartenstein on the floor at all times to wear down Embiid, because that's the only way to slow him down. I mean, and that's all you can do. You can't stop Joel Embiid. It's really impressive when you consider he's playing on one leg and how dominant he's been in the first half of these games.
Right.
Just shows you what kind of a special player that he is, in my opinion. Just phenomenal. And Maxi's probably been the best player in the series.
Yeah.
With apologies to Josh Hart.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Any concerns before we move on to what we're looking for in game 3 and we're out of here? Any concerns based on what you've seen in the first 2 games, or even heading into game 3?
Well, as Tibbs would say, there's always concerns, right? There's always concerns. But I think, Jalen's struggles are a concern. I mean, he's had, 4 or 5 bad games against Philadelphia now, and we need him to be more efficient. If we're, I don't know if we can keep playing with fire with him having these struggles on offense, because we've kind of had some big time performances by some guys you wouldn't necessarily expect, and that's easier to do at home. Doing it on the road is a little bit different story, and so we're certainly capable. We're good. We've got good players. I mean, and we've got good shooters, but again, excuse me, I am concerned about how the offense looked in the fourth quarter when Jalen Brunson came back in the game. We scored 6 points in 6 minutes. Up until that, closing time, that's what allowed them to go on that massive run. So is that a concern? Absolutely. Nick Nurse's game plan has been terrific, and, he's taken the chance that Josh Hart is going to beat him, and Josh Hart's done it twice. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to do it 2 more times. I mean, him shooting over 50% from 3 in 2 straight games has got to be considered a little bit of an outlier. Now, that's not to say that other people can't step up who maybe underperformed or whatever, but yeah, I think you have to be concerned because Philly just has really good players. Like they are the best 7th seed I've ever seen.
All right.
I mean,
only because of the injuries. You're right. They dropped to 7. Correct. Yeah.
But that's not to say that I don't think we're the better team, because we've proven to be the better team. Look, we shot 40% from the field, 33% from 3, and we won the game. Our defense has been outstanding. It's been really good. I mean, it's not like we're playing the Orlando Magic, who have Paolo and nothing else, right? This is a Sixer team that has weapons all over the court, and knock on wood, but we've neutralized all but the 2 big guns. And I'm not sure the 2 big guns can beat us by themselves. Now, if Embiid was healthy, that's a different story. But if he's not, and he's clearly not, that changes things. But again, the schedule works in Philly's favor, because there's 2 days off between this game and Thursday night's game, and then we have 2 days off again before the next game, which means that he's going to get that extra day to heal. He's going to be fresher. And we've seen the more fresh he is on the court, the bigger a problem he is.
Yeah. I think my only concern, and it's more a question, if Brunson doesn't play better offensively, can the other players continue to step up in his stead for 2 more wins? Not 2 more games, for 2 more wins, right? That's what Philly is doing. We're gonna attack the head of the snake, and those other guys are gonna have to beat us. And for 2 games, they did, right? And I guess my question is, can we continue to do that? If they make it difficult for Brunson, can we continue to come up big? I'm not gonna say in his absence, but can we continue to come up big, given how they're playing them? I think that's the only question I have. I guess, McBride is the only young player in the rotation. You know, will he not play as well on the road? I guess, but I think he's going to be fine. He's just a different breed, as far as his
I
confidence
think
is
his game
concerned.
travels well because a lot of what he does is predicated on effort and defense, and so I think that travels well. You know what I mean? There
The
are some
defensive side,
players,
though, the
yeah,
offensive side, that's
right.
that's hitting shots. But the defensive side absolutely does travel well.
And yeah, we do need him to make shots, but he's been consistent all year. I think he's been good off of it. And I don't think he's going to get more than 20-25 minutes anyway. I think it's really between he and DiVincenzo, like who, if the one that's playing better is, I think, the one that's going to close right now. And if you told me that before the start of the playoffs, I'd have said you were crazy. But Bride's been that good, and he just has such an impact defensively that if he's making shots, he's tough to take off the floor.
For sure. I'm just bringing up questions. I'm not saying that he won't answer them. I'm just bringing up, possible questions
I agree. I
going
think
into
that's a definite question.
going into to a game 3. Um, yeah. All right. What are you looking for in game 3? Your predictions before we get out of here.
Well, I'm not going to make a prediction because I hadn't predicted anything, and we're 2-0. So I'm not. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. You know what I'm saying? So, but what I am looking for is a faster start. Like, we've been punched in the mouth 2 games in a row. I want to see us get Embiid in some high pick and roll situations, utilize Hartenstein's ability, get off a little bit quicker on the offensive end, don't fall behind 9-0, 11-2, 15-5, and then have to battle back. I really want to see. I feel like if we can take control of this game early, we can break their will. Because I honestly believe that we're a stronger team mentally than they are. And I actually really like what Isaiah Hartenstein said after the game. He was like, we hadn't done anything yet. We have to get 4 wins. We only have 2.
Right.
And I think that's the right mentality to have.
Right.
But I also think Jerrell is correct. We're going to get their best punch, and they punch hard. We're going to get their best punch, and I think we're going to be playing 5-on-8 for a little bit because I think that you're going to see a pretty nice whistle for both Maxey and for Embiid. So I think we've got to be prepared for that, and I think we need to stay under control with our emotions, and not Josh Hart can't get how he does sometimes. He kind of flies off the handle a little bit. So we need to keep our emotions under control, keep them in check, weather that storm, get off to a good start, and then and see where it goes. But this is just going to be a war. I mean, these are 2 evenly matched teams. They're Philly's a very good team. They're extremely well coached. The Knicks are just a little bit better. And they're a little bit better because our 2-8 is better than their 3-8. Their 1 and 2 has been better than our 1, but our 2-8 is just a little bit stronger. and that matters down the stretch. And that's not to say that, hopefully Buddy Hield stays quiet, take a nap, go on vacation, go to a hammock somewhere in the Caribbean and stay there for, until we win 2 more ball games. I don't want to see Buddy Hield get hot. I don't want to see Nick Batum get hot. I sure don't want to see any more out of Kyle Lowry. But the other thing about playing in Philly, that's a second home for DiVincenzo, for Hart, and for Brunson, right? They're Villanova boys. They've got a lot of backing, a lot of following, a lot of comfort level about playing in the city of brotherly love. And so, and I love about them, the lights aren't going to be too bright for any of those guys. And I think that's the difference between this year's club and last year's. I think when it came to Quickly and it came to, Grimes a little bit, I think sometimes the lights were too bright, especially on offense. And I haven't really seen that with this club this year. And I think Bogdanovic is another guy there who's like, you can just plug him in. And again, I don't think he's hit some big shots for us. He hasn't had a bogey game yet.
Not
and
yet.
So I'd like to see him have a bogey game where he just hits 4 or 5 threes, 15 points in 15 minutes, just, off the bench, spark the team, make a one-man run and really do a good job, because I kind of feel like the first team to 100 is going to win. I don't know why, but I kind of feel like it's that kind of series. What do you think?
Yeah. That's I'm concerned about the energy that's going to be in the building in the first 5 minutes of the game. To your point about getting off to a really good start. And not, with their energy and the role players, Philly's role players playing better at home, they get out to a big lead, and we have to spend so much of our energy trying to get back into the game. So that first 5 minutes of the game is going to be critical, in my opinion. Not that we can't win it. I just don't want to spend so much energy trying to climb back into it. So I really want to see how the Knicks respond in that first 5 minutes. Take a little punch, if we have to, because of the energy. But a little punch to me is like 8-2 before we respond, not 18-2. You know what I mean? So the first 5 minutes of the game is going to be critical. And if they're able to do that, Geoff, and it's a nip and tuck game, I agree with you. First one to 100 has the best chance of winning. But if it's one of those like 25-10, and we gotta, and we spotting them already 25 points in like the first 8 minutes, like, yeah, I think it's going to be tough. But you're right. If it's nip and tuck, I agree with you. The defense for both teams have been really, really good. And even if it hasn't been great on Embiid and Maxey, listen, they're scoring 30 points or whatever it is, but they're not scoring 40, and they're not scoring 50. So.
Well, they had 69 and the Sixers had 101. So that means the rest of their rotation scored like 32 points. I think you live with that.
Right. Right.
Is it great? No, but you live with it. I mean, if you're going to limit everybody else to 32, it's really and what happens if Maxey has a bad shooting game, right? It's possible. Like, we haven't seen it yet, but he's human too. If he has a game where he shoots 3 of 12 or 4 of 14, then and their role players don't step up, then I think the Knicks can definitely come out of there with a win. And he's been terrific, but Brunson's had 2 bad games. Great players have bad games sometimes. So I think that both teams really have to be I think Philly more so has to be so on their game to win, because the Knicks are so relentless. Right. I mean, that's the only word for it. Are we going to play perfectly? No, but we are relentless, and we are just going to come at you. We're like that old Atari game, Demon Attack. We just come at you in wave after wave after wave, and we're going to punch you, and we're going to punch you, and we're going to hit a body blow and a body blow and a body blow. And you take those body blows, and all of a sudden, then you get an uppercut, at the last minute, and it's a TKO. And so,
did you just age yourself with the Atari?
Yeah, I did, but I'll own it. I'll own it. Hey, I know this audience. They know what Atari is. We don't have a bunch of 20-somethings out there. We may have a couple, but we took the poll. Our people are out there. They know what the Atari is.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, we got 155 listening to the show. I appreciate you watching the show, listening or watching. I appreciate you. We have 72 likes. Let's get the likes up to 100 before we get out of here. I listen, if the Knicks win game 3, great. If they don't, I'm not panicking. If we can get one or both of these, I'm obviously if we can get both of these, I'm super great. But if we can just get one and close it out in game 5, or at least have the opportunity to close it out in game 5, I'm happy. I think game 3 is going to be a tough game, for the Knicks. Going back home, they already put the officials on high alert. Their role players may play a little better. Their fans is going to be fired up. I think it's going to be a tough game for the Knicks. Can we win it? We absolutely can. But I think it's going to be a tough game. And that first 5 minutes is going to tell us. Is going to tell us a lot. Yeah, it's going to tell us a lot. Anything else that we didn't discuss at all that you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I really hope that Jalen lets the game come to him and not try and force it early on offense. Like, play within the flow of the game, relax, have the confidence in your own abilities that it's going to come, and just make the right basketball plays, get to your spots, and just shoot your shots, man. I don't hunt for those fouls so much. It's the playoffs. I don't think you're going to get those calls as much in the playoffs as he got in the regular season. And he doesn't get a lot of them even in the regular season, but I think it's going to be even less. And to his credit, he has gotten to the line some, but I think he just needs to focus on shoot your shot. Don't worry about drawing the contact, jerking your head back, all of that fun stuff. Just, get to the spot on the floor you want and make them pay for it. And then, and move from there. And if it's not there, trust your teammates. They've been really good. Like, not all at the same time, but they've been really good. And I think in some instances that makes it tougher on Nick Nurse. Because who do you prepare for? Do you prepare for Dante DiVincenzo, who was great in game 2 and not so much in game 1? Do you prepare for Isaiah Hartenstein, who was a non-factor in game 1 and was incredible in game 2? Right. Do you prepare for Mitchell Robinson? Like, you can't prepare for everybody, and they've done a fantastic job schematically and everything else. But I think it's really difficult when you have different guys stepping up each game, and we have that capability because we don't have a lot of great players, but we've got a lot of good ones.
For sure. 150 in the chat, 81 likes. Let's get 19 more likes before we get out of here. 19 more likes. It definitely helps the channel. The channel gets recommended more. You guys know when you turn on YouTube and you see recommended channels that you didn't know anything about. Same. That's the same thing. This channel will be recommended to more Knick fans. So hit that like button. Geoff?
And salute to Jay Boogie. Happy belated birthday to him. And that Mike Breen song is fire. And we got the double bang. I listened to that Mike Breen song earlier in the day, and then we got the double bang on the DiVincenzo 3, and I was just like, I was thinking of my guy Jay Boogie. I was like, there it is right there. It is right there. So salute to you, big fella. We love you. You're doing great things, man. And just salute to you. And if y'all get a chance, make sure you check out Die Hard Giants on Thursday while you're watching the Knick game, because Jerrell Jerrell's one of the most knowledgeable football people that you're going to find. And if you like the Giants, you know what he does with the Knicks, and he's going to be doing them both. So you get a doubleheader. So if you got the chance, be sure and check that out on Thursday. And then, man, we getting spoiled. Queen's putting in these morning shows. I'm telling you, I love the morning show. And Ajay says it too, wherever he's at in the Caribbean or,
Yeah, shout out to
whatever he's
Ajay.
doing.
Shout out to Stafford as well. Yeah, I may we play Thursday. I might do a either a morning or afternoon recap on Friday. I'll probably, I don't know. I think I do want to hop on with Jerrell, but I gotta watch the Knicks at the same. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. But Jay Boogie has a song for us. We're gonna close out with Jay Boogie. He has one, the closer, which we played here before. But no, excuse me. It's called "We on Top," and it also features Ebony, Mad Knick fans, from Venture Sports Network and Nick of Time show. So
cool.
Yeah, cool. Let me just see something. Yeah, that's what we'll do. This is what we will do. Appreciate you guys. We're gonna show that. We're gonna run the intro right after Jay Boogie's song, the extra, I should say. Here we go.
Jay Boogie, we facing a lot of doubters.
So Ebony, First Lady of KOT, what you saying?
It's us against the world.
New York City, where you at? We outside. My Knicks fans, where you at? I'm looking down cause we on top. They looking up, see we on top. On game nights, all I see is Knick traffic. For the playoffs, I'm wearing a June jacket. The best fans anywhere, we stay rocking. This my 4-point play, my Larry Johnson. The true definition of getting snubbed is when the 2 seed ain't getting no love. We know the cats from college known as teammates. Now the league podcast and we some roommates. It's for the league, whoever wanna collide. That new commercial that told you I'm the vibe. Shout out to Mr. Rose, the plan working from the ESPN with these bars on Kendrick Perkins. Every game, the squad, we just go hard. Coach Tibb, Challenger, New Dodge. 5 boroughs of breath, the Knick plan from the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Staten, to Brooklyn. New York City, where you at? We outside. My Knick fans, where you at? I'm looking down cause we on top. They looking up, see we on top.
No Diddy.
Yo, E, you crazy for that.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't talk.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't talk.
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't talk.
What?
Don't talk.
What?
Don't talk.